Hello, pod listeners. This is Matt talking, and I just wanted to thank you for downloading, streaming, or sitting patiently while I awkwardly make you listen to this later. Sorry, Ray, that won't happen again. First off, before we get started on this week's episode, I just wanted to mention that on the Obsessive Viewer blog, which you can find at obsessiveviewer.com, we're dedicating the entire month to Shocktober. It's a yearly tradition. We've been doing it for years amongst ourselves. It's a month-long celebration of horror on the screen, and this whole month we're posting reviews, recommendations, discussions, all about what's perhaps the most polarizing movie genre of them all. And it wouldn't be Shocktober if you guys didn't participate. So I'm asking if you have an opinion or anything, shoot us an email, comment, do whatever you need to do to get to us, because we thrive off of the discussions that we have on the site. As usual, you can reach us on email, by email, at ovpodcast@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter. I'm Matt. I'm at Obsessive Viewer. Tiny is at Obsessive Tiny, and Mike is at I am Mike White. And of course, you can also like the page on Facebook at The Obsessive Viewer. I encourage you to do that because I like it when there's a little notification telling me that someone likes the page. It makes me happy. So without further ado, I'll let you get to the episode. This week we're talking about the Cornetto Trilogy. We had a lot of fun discussing it. It was a nice kind of laid-back conversation, and if you must know, this was like the first time in like a month or two that I haven't hit any snags in the editing. So I'm pretty proud of it. So hope you guys enjoy. Let us know what you think, and thanks again for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast.
If we were crossing the Delaware, you would be George Washington.
Yep. Oh yes, history.
That is the best analogy I could come up with.
So you're telling me I will have been dead for like 200-300 years?
Yeah, and you won like 5 out of 9 battles in the. This is nerdy. Let's stop.
Wasn't he in the Hall of Presidents? Oh yeah. What did he say? Welcome to the Hall of Presidents.
What was that?
What is that?
That's Bill and Ted.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I haven't seen that in so long.
Me neither. One of the first movies I ever saw in the theater. It was at a drive-in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Wow. So you're listening to the Obsessive Historian podcast, where we talk about history, and it's
the Obsessive Obscure Reference podcast.
Yeah.
That's not really obscure. But
Right.
I'm sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
You'll cry.
It's just an old reference.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today, Matt?
Well, today on the Obsessive Viewer podcast, we are talking about the Three Flavors Cornetto Trilogy by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, with Nick Frost and a bevy of different British actors and actresses as they not really send up, but they subvert genres in three thematically linked films. Yeah. So what's up?
Kind of thematically. They're linked barely.
Yeah.
They're indicative of where these people were at that time in their lives, which is a weird phrasing, but basically what I mean is, Shaun of the Dead was the first one, and it's kind of about being in your early 20s, and you're kind of you don't want to
late 20s.
Yeah, mid to late 20s. Yeah. And you want to hang on to your childhood, if you will. And then the middle one, Hot Fuzz, is kind of about embracing your role as an adult, and you have to kind of grow up. And then the last one, which just recently came out, The World's End, is kind of about, you're totally just a boring adult now, and it's kind of about getting back your youthful pride and joy. Yeah. So it's indicative of where these actors and filmmakers were at a certain time in their lives as well. I think that's kind of an interesting aspect of the trilogy.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
So let's just go down the line and talk about each movie individually, and we can do our thing.
Let's do it.
Before we start discussing the movies, I kind of want to just bring up how we came about these movies. So, the first one being Shaun of the Dead, 2004 Shaun of the Dead, about Shaun, who is a slacker, kind of guy who is resistant to growing up and procrastinates growing up, I guess. Who, in the face of a zombie apocalypse, an apocalyptic event. Don't want to use the Z word.
We're not using that word.
Yes. In the face of this apocalypse, he puts his life back together, and he grows up, and he becomes. It takes the end of the world for him to get his stuff together. So, first of all, how'd you guys come about this movie? I know we're kind of stepping on a future podcast, but that's fine. So, Tiny, how'd you find this? How'd you find Shaun of the Dead?
I think it was word of mouth, really, more than anything else. That was my first exposure to Edgar Wright and the whole Shaun of the Dead team. So I didn't have that fanboy aspect yet, but I think I just kind of heard about it, and it looked really cool and funny, and just watched. Nothing special, really. Just kind of found it one day and watched it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mike, how about you?
Yeah, similarly, I knew absolutely nothing about it coming in. It was on, I think, the USI Movie Channel at the University of Southern Indiana my freshman year of college in 2005. Yes. I guess a year after it came out or so. And I was laying in bed, and Matt was sleeping right next to me. We were cuddling in bed. And,
you.
Oh, yeah. And I couldn't sleep, so I was flipping through the channels and watched about the last half of the movie, and I thought it was pretty funny. And then a year later, I just decided to, I guess, semi-blind buy it, and kind of made a big deal out of watching it the following Shocktober.
I'm pretty much the same way. I heard you listening. I heard you watching it. And usually, I mean, we had a dynamic where we basically sat there, or one of us would go to bed, the other one would kind of stay up and do our thing, but we never really interfered with anyone. So
yeah,
with each other. So it was a normal occurrence for you to watch TV. I credit you with my love of Conan O'Brien because you watched Conan.
I did most nights.
Conan O'Brien, yeah, and I would listen to it as I was falling asleep, and I'd be like, "Wow, this guy's really funny."
Conan,
so I listened,
not me.
right? And then it was just kind of from there. I listened to Shaun of the Dead, and I was like, "This sounds like a movie that I might be interested in seeing." And then I eventually did see it, all the way through in a proper context, and I fell in love with it. At the time, I was already kind of in love with zombie movies and zombie lore and all that. It solidified it even more for me.
Yeah. There was one Shocktober in particular where a friend of mine visited from where he and I both went to high school, and we watched Shaun of the Dead, and then of course the scene where "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen plays kind of toward the end of the movie, and we were just obsessed with that scene. Literally, we must have listened to "Don't Stop Me Now" 50 times that weekend. It was in October, so it was all about we need to go to Walmart and pick up 4 bags of candy each. And every time we would go out to get candy or go out to get food, we would just put "Don't Stop Me Now" on repeat and sing it at the top of our lungs. One of my favorite Shocktober experiences. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I made a zombie playlist just for the hell of it of one year, and I had that on there. Yeah,
fitting.
Yes.
Zombie songs.
Yeah, just songs that reminded me of. I'm a nerd.
Did you have the Cranberries on there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was this for any of you guys? Had you guys heard of Simon Pegg before this movie?
Oh yeah, I think.
Oh, you had? This was my first experience with Simon Pegg.
I had seen him in was it Mission Impossible 3, I believe. the one that J.J. Abrams did, because Simon Pegg and J.J. Abrams were like friends. And
I'm pretty sure that came out in 2006.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I guess you're right. Okay, so yeah, maybe it was my first experience with Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look him up because I feel like I knew him from somewhere, but I can't place it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just one of those guys that you feel like you know him.
Yeah,
true. True.
The only thing that I can think of pre-Shaun of the Dead that I would have seen would be Band of Brothers, but
yeah.
I mean, he's in it for like one scene.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely my first interaction with him.
Nice.
And a good one at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
So for those,
just a quick look. It was the first thing I'd seen him in. So
yeah. For those not in the know with why they call it the Cornetto Trilogy, when you guys want to shed light onto that?
Cornetto is a brand of ice cream.
Yeah, it's a brand. It's incredibly popular in England.
Yeah. And you can see in Shaun of the Dead, he goes to the shop and he asks Nick Frost's character, he asks him, I'm going to the shop, do you want anything? And he's like, Cornetto, and then he goes and he grabs them.
Strawberry Cornetto.
Strawberry Cornetto, yes.
Because to represent blood.
Yes.
Like zombies.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's called the Cornetto Trilogy because throughout all three films, that brand of ice cream is referenced, and it's featured in all three films. So.
Yep. Yeah. So favorite things or favorite scenes in Shaun of the Dead?
My favorite part of this, excuse me, of this movie in particular is just how smart it is. The smart scenes that get repeated, like when Matt, you just referenced when Shaun goes to the shop. The first time the camera follows Shaun from when he leaves their apartment or flat in the UK lingo. The camera follows him all the way from when he leaves till all the way he gets to the store and back home, and it's a cool tracking shot to watch by itself. But then after the apocalypse happens, and the character of Shaun does not know that it has happened, he does the exact same journey to the store.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to him that there's a zombie apocalypse, and he gets all the way back to his house and still does not know. Just the brilliance of that shot is just so... Those two shots together is so brilliant. And then the way that Shaun keeps running into an old acquaintance, played by Jessica Hines. I don't remember the character's name, but... she was played by Jessica Hines, who was she was on the series Spaced with Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and it was written and directed by Edgar Wright. So they all kind of knew each other. They run into each other, I think 3 times or 4 times throughout the movie, and regardless of the context, they have the exact same conversation every time. It's so funny. How you doing? Oh, surviving. And it fits in all 4 contexts. It's so funny how that works out. It's just a brilliant little piece of writing and filmmaking there. That's my favorite part about this movie is it's easy to dismiss it as a silly comedy, but it's really, really intelligent. It's a very smart film with very, very unique and difficult filmmaking techniques to it that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a movie like this. That's what I love about it so much.
Nice. I agree. Mike, how about you?
In a similar vein to that, just the smart filmmaking and it kind of British humor, I guess Edgar Wright kind of style. I love when they're describing the plan. Or I guess when Shaun is describing the plan, and they keep making amendments to the plan. Yes. I wish I could remember the characters' names better. I'm embarrassed that I don't. But we'll go pick up stepdad, and then we'll go here, and then we'll go here to get the girlfriend, and then we'll go to here, and then we'll go to the pub and have a pint.
Yeah.
But it always ends there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And then of course, obviously, just Don't Stop Me Now, for personal reasons.
Awesome.
It's one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys a lot. Tiny, you touched on the writing, and I agree. It's really spectacular the way that they connect things and they make these connections, and it's by all intents and purposes, it's a comedy. It's a silly comedy. It's a silly zombie comedy that shouldn't be that kind of that intricately layered in terms of the jokes and the callbacks and the setups and all that. But it is, and it's made all the better for it. And in addition to that, I just love the tribute that it pays to the history of zombie movies and to the zombies.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's really great. It's one of my favorite movies for Shocktober, and really any time that I'm in the mood to be put in a good mood.
I was gonna say, in kind of reference to what you were saying, where would you guys rank Shaun of the Dead in terms of zombie movies?
I would say I think it's, first of all, I admit my bias a lot on this show. I'm very biased towards this film. It's one of my, it's literally, I don't have a top 10, but it's literally in my top 10. That's how much I love this movie. It's so I think it's my favorite zombie movie by far, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best zombie movie.
Okay.
Just because it pokes fun and it's very referential of the other zombie films.
Sure.
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best, but I think it has been adopted as one of the best by a lot of people, just because of how clever it is and everything.
Yeah. It is, and I feel like it's kind of like a Scream approach to zombie movies.
Sure, definitely,
and
sure.
I love it for that. I absolutely love it for that. And there's little Easter eggs, like it's popular. A popular piece of trivia is that the line where Nick Frost yells into the phone at Shaun's mom, he's like, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." That's a reference to Night of the Living Dead, the beginning of Night of the Living Dead. And when they screened the movie for George Romero, like he didn't even pick up on it.
That's funny.
Yeah, and it's. I just love that kind of care that it takes in paying tribute to this genre, while in addition being a great movie in itself. I think it strikes such a great balance in terms of all these singular elements coming together to create this great comedy that never ever gets old.
Agreed.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would say, as kind of the non-zombie fan amongst us, that it is my favorite. I guess you gotta also count Zombieland, in terms of zombie movies, but Zombieland is a little more, I don't know, a little more slapstick than Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess that's not really fair to say, because Shaun of the Dead is slapstick at times. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I take Shaun of the Dead more seriously than Zombieland. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I would give Shaun of the Dead the nod there. But Zombieland has Bill Murray, so.
That's true.
True.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like favorite scenes from the movie?
Like I said, the "Don't Stop Me Now" scene's probably. Oh, and when they finally make it inside the bar, you know what I'm talking about? And David is pulled through the window, and they rip his guts out.
Yeah.
That is one of the lasting things from the movie. When I saw it in our dorm room, Matt, that was what made me say that I had to see it again, because I thought that was disgusting. I thought
it was great,
very bold for a comedy to do that.
Yeah,
I mean that is scary movie gore level.
Oh yeah,
you know.
I agree. As for my favorite scene, it's really hard to tell. It goes back and forth every time I watch it, because it's such a great movie.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, maybe the scene where they're rehearsing their zombie impressions.
Yeah.
And they go to Shaun's mom, and she's like, and then I can't remember her name, but she's like, good job or whatever, and then she kind of comes out of this daze and is like, I'm sorry, I was worlds away. What's going on?
Yeah. So great.
I was miles away. Yeah, I thought that was great.
My favorite scene is, I think it is the best scene in the entire trilogy. I will actually say.
Oh wow!
It is when they first learn that they're dealing with zombies. It is when they find the girl wandering around in their backyard. Her name is Mary. She worked at the grocery store. Uh-huh. They go back there and they think that she's just drunk, and she kind of tries to attack Pegg, Shaun, and he pushes her away. She falls back. She impales herself on a pole, and then she does not die, much to their amazement, and she gets up and starts walking towards them. And unfortunately, this is a very visual joke. There's no dialogue, so it's hard to explain. You have to just see it. But the character of Ed, played by Nick Frost, is holding a camera, a disposable camera, and as soon as he sees her start walking towards them, he starts I don't know how to explain it, but he
winds it back up.
He winds the camera back up without saying a word. That is, in my opinion, that is the best joke in the whole trilogy. I think it's because it's just so smart. It's all about delivery. It's like I said, if you just sit there and tell it, it's not funny. But if you see it, it is beyond hilarious. And then the rest of that scene is also really funny, where they try to, it may not be that scene exactly, but where they try to kill the zombies that are in their backyard, and they go inside and grab any blunt object they can think of, and they grab the crate of records.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting there trying to decide which records to throw.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this one's terrible. Go ahead and throw it. It's just, it's
isn't
so
it
funny.
like one of them's the Batman soundtrack, Prince?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them's like Purple Rain.
Yeah.
It's, oh God, I think it's just so funny. And it's a little bit of that scene is a little bit of a dig at how zombies seem like, at least the zombies that they're talking about, the kind of zombies that are in this film, they seem not so menacing because they walk so slow, they barely move, and that scene is indicative of it because they have time to sit there and decide what kind of records they're going to throw at this zombie. I love everything about that whole scene.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great movie.
Yeah, so wonderful.
Yeah. Great stuff. Should we move on to Hot Fuzz?
Let's do it.
Sweet. So Hot Fuzz is from 2000, and I'm looking it up now.
I want to say 2007.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. You want to say that again?
Hot Fuzz is a movie from 2007 starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, directed by Edgar Wright. It's about Nicholas Angel, a kind of a super cop for the police.
He's a Bobby.
He's a Bobby from
the police
from London. He's sent to a small country village called Sanford because he is. And this is one of my favorite bits about it. It's because he's so exceptionally good that he makes all of the other cops in London look bad. So they send him to this obscure place.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and it's a great movie. And there he kind of stumbles on this plot with involving murder and secrecy, and it's a great action movie in the sense that Shaun of the Dead was a zombie movie. This is an action movie, and it does the same things, and it does the same things spectacularly well.
Yes,
it does, but with elements of horror.
Yes,
those really threw me. That's tough to say. I can't say Hot Fuzz is the action one without saying, oh yeah, but people also get their heads sliced off. You know what I mean?
It's like a slasher movie in addition to being an action movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a slaction movie,
and I like that. Oh, jeez,
I'm so sorry.
Oh man,
I love how Mike just glossed over it. Like I'm not even going to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's the Johnny Doppelgangers all over again.
Jesus, thanks for bringing that up again.
Pete Ulrich is the Johnny Doppelganger?
Yeah.
Are you referencing the future right now?
No, that was last
That was
episode.
the kickoff?
Yeah.
I'm all thrown, you guys.
It's tough. We've been recording a lot.
This is
guys.
what happens when you mess with time travel.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Listeners, I probably shouldn't say this. We have developed time travel.
Mike.
Yes.
Well, we didn't develop it. It exists. But we discovered the means by which you can travel through time.
Yes.
And every now and then, we like to go into the future and record an episode and put it out that day. And then we go to the past and we kind of just let it happen later on.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you find those discrepancies, it's really just us just having a joke, having a little fun.
Right. Oh, how about that time travel episode we did? That was a good one.
That was good. You guys are going to love that. It
Yes.
was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe we'll post that yesterday. Anyway, we're getting away from ourselves here.
Yeah, a little bit.
So Hot Fuzz is it's great, and like you said, it is like a slasher. It's kind of like a slasher movie in addition to being an action movie. And yeah, how did you guys come about seeing Hot Fuzz?
I didn't see it until it was out of theaters. Unfortunately, I saw it on DVD, but I was very aware of it. Excuse me, because I thought it was. Shaun of the Dead became one of my favorite movies, and I was super excited that it was the whole team back together. But I was a little bit skeptical. Excuse me, because it's sometimes sequels just suck. You can't always recapture the greatness from the first film, and so I was just hesitant. I didn't want the world ruined, if you will. So I was kind of hesitant to see it, and I think that's why I waited for the DVD. But I was beyond pleasantly surprised by how great it was. I loved it a lot.
Yep. Mike, how about you?
I actually lied about my timeline. I didn't see Shaun of the Dead in full the year after. I actually waited almost 3 years, well, I guess 3 years to see it in 2008, which was a year after Hot Fuzz came out. So Hot Fuzz was completely under the radar. I remember hearing about it, but not caring at all. It wasn't until that Shocktober in 2008 where I became obsessed with Shaun of the Dead that I even cared to go back and watch Hot Fuzz. And I think I watched it that summer just on a whim. I think I might have Redboxed it or something like that, and enjoyed it. I guess I'm probably stepping on something we might talk about later, but I remember immediately not liking it as much as Shaun of the Dead. So,
yeah, in my opinion, they had huge shoes to fill. It's hard to follow Shaun of the Dead. In my opinion, that would have been almost impossible to match the quality of that. So,
yeah.
But I think this was a beyond stellar, addition to their various careers. So,
yeah,
I love it. I really love this movie.
I like it. I think some of the jokes are better. I think some of the jokes might be fun. The wordplay is perhaps funnier in this.
Yeah.
But what Shaun of the Dead has is the visual gags.
The setups in Hot Fuzz, which, by the way, I found Hot Fuzz I was a fan of Shaun of the Dead, and it came out in theaters, and I didn't see it in theaters, but I think maybe my brother saw it when it hit DVD, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch it because I've been meaning to watch it, and it was one of those movies that I meant to watch sooner, but I just didn't get around to it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And what they do with Hot Fuzz is that some of the setups, like the kind of is it Timothy Dalton's character?
Yeah.
Go
James
like
Bond.
he comes up and he's like what does he say? It's like, I'm a slasher or something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of those kind of setups and those kind of things. They're more on the nose here, but it serves the story just as well. Because it's kind of that goofy kind of small community that is shielding this secret it's just this weird bizarro world that Nicholas has gotten himself into, and it's a really cool it fits the story well.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep. Favorite scenes?
Jeez, I'd be hard pressed to choose one. Wow. I don't know. I don't know if I can pick one.
I like early on. I like the first bit of gore because it totally changes the movie.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is behind stage at the play. I think they're rehearsing or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Maybe.
And it's the two. It's the. Oh man.
Is it when the guy from the local newspaper is interviewing Nicholas about what he thought about the play?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And then shortly after that, gets the head chopped off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That like shock of gore was like, this is not the movie I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of had it on like in the background of doing something else. And I remember seeing that and just saying, "Whoa, this movie's something else." And then I really like, of course, the Point Break is actually one of my the favorite movies from my childhood.
Yeah.
And when he's shooting in the air and screaming, I really love that visual payoff. I think I thought that was well done.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I like the juxtaposition between this and Shaun of the Dead, where Shaun of the Dead is about this kind of slacker guy in his late 20s who's kind of just hasn't grown up yet, and then whereas in Hot Fuzz he's playing a character that's really uptight and really, really structured, and he doesn't know how to have fun or anything. It's all about, like, Shaun of the Dead is about his journey toward becoming an adult and taking charge of situations and stuff, whereas Hot Fuzz is the opposite, where he's an uptight guy who's learning to loosen up and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like how it was.
Yeah, I love throughout the film. There's a whole dichotomy of this small country town kind of being. They're sort of critical of city life, and I love how they kind of mock Nicholas. They're like, well, maybe in London and stuff like that. And then like the one officer, Nick gets a call from somebody from London, and the one officer is like, he's like, oh, Officer Angel, someone from London called. Like he doesn't, like he's never heard of the town of London before. It's so
I forgot
funny.
about that.
It's really great. Yeah, and I love how just all the different crimes that occur, or the deaths that are made to seem like accidents, and all the cops will be standing in a circle and they will be, throwing out, they'll be like, so what do you think happened? And then Nicholas Angel will just go into this really detailed and perfect summary of what happened, and they're like, yep, that's what happened. Or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just it's really funny.
It's like, what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And a little like almost throwaway thing, but I love that the reporters come to the scene and all that, and like one of them asks Nicholas, he's like, so what's your favorite Sunday?
Describe your perfect Sunday.
Yes. And then kind of, and I think it's like kind of at the end of the movie, you see them. I think they're interviewing one of the Andys, and all you hear is him say like, "Well, I like to have." He says something like, "I like to have a scone with my newspaper as I watch the sunrise," or something like that. And it's so weird.
Yeah. It's hilarious that in the police station they have a swear jar. Yeah. Because that's just the last place you would expect to see a swear jar, is in a police station,
Right.
So funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And I love all the references and all that.
And it's funny to see... It was funny to see all these... Well, not all of these, but several classic, storied British actors in this kind of silly comedy, like Timothy Dalton and Jim Broadbent and, a couple of the other older, like Town Elders, if you will, were, classic British actors, and just kind of in this...
Bill Nighy?
Bill Nighy. Right, he was the captain of the...
The science guy,
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Mike, I feel like you were just waiting for one of us to reference Bill Nighy, just to throw that out there.
Using it? I am totally stealing that.
Oh, that's
hilarious.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sorry. I had that in my back pocket since the start of the...
That's great.
There's a point where it's there's a cameo early in the film when Nicholas Angel is still in London, where he kind of breaks up with his girlfriend. He breaks up with her at a crime scene, and she's a forensic investigator. The role was the funny thing about it is all these people they're wearing like these full uniforms and you can't really see their faces. That role was actually played by Cate Blanchett.
That's right.
It's a funny cameo because you don't know it's her because you can't see her face at all. But there was another. Do you guys remember who the other actor was who played the guy that she left him for?
No.
It's somebody big. I can't remember who it is. But so I kind of ruined it. But
I just have to laugh at the. I thought you were setting us up like, oh, it was someone huge. But no, you just
I know. I really should have looked it up before I brought it up, but.
That's all right.
It's just another a really clever, funny detail of the film.
Yeah, and it was just. How do you guys feel? Do you think it was better than Shaun of the Dead or not?
No, and I've already kind of said that.
Right.
Like I said, I think the joke writing is better.
Mm-hmm.
But Shaun of the Dead is like a cultural icon now.
I agree.
Already.
Definitely.
And Hot Fuzz is not. And people who appreciate the Cornetto Trilogy, appreciate Edgar Wright on his own, appreciate Simon Pegg on his own, appreciate Hot Fuzz. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody like hates Hot Fuzz. Right. But very, very many people love Shaun of the Dead, and I don't think anybody loves Hot Fuzz as much as they love Shaun of the Dead.
Well said. I
don't want to say anybody, but you know what I mean.
For the most part.
Yeah.
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 Good point.
I agree with that too. That's kind of how I feel. I said it earlier. Shaun of the Dead was borderline perfect in my opinion, and so there's almost no way that Hot Fuzz could have matched it. So, but I still think this is a really funny movie, and I love it a lot.
Me too.
Yep.
Me too.
Yep.
Parting thoughts on Hot Fuzz?
Not really. It's not a Shocktober staple.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
No. But,
I do like to throw it on if I feel the urge to watch a fun action movie, because I mean that the big gunfight at the end is just awesome.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And it plays with so many action movie tropes that I get a kick out of it.
Oh, and vanilla Cornetto with a blue wrapper, blue to represent, of course, the police force.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you remembered.
And also, we're forgetting the attempting to leap over a fence.
Oh yeah.
Gag.
Yeah. The running
gag. In all
gag.
three. The running.
Yeah.
Gag.
I love it.
It's just kind of a fun thing they threw in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we move on to kind of? I don't want to cheapen it, but I mean this is the most recent one, so it's kind of the main event topic. But
right.
The World's End, because the three of us haven't discussed this privately with each other at all.
We haven't. We have not. We do that. You obsessive listeners, you should know that our personal lives and friendships are suffering because of you people.
Yes,
we're suffering
because of you people.
We don't talk anymore. It's all business.
Yes,
we do it. We do it for you.
We do it for you. Yeah, it is out of love for you guys. But I'll tell you, the love for each other is just fading.
Yes. We're
our art is just too important.
It is.
Yeah, I'll text Matt. Matt, just saw The World's End. What'd you think? Fuck you.
He does that to you too? I thought it was just me.
Exactly.
I was not expecting that. Oh, that's great.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. So The World's End tells the story of a group of friends goaded by their kind of reckless friend, Gary King, played by Simon Pegg, who gets the band back together to go on a mythical pub crawl called the Golden Mile, where they hit 12 pubs, 12 pints in one night. They never finished it when they were kids, so they they want to try to reclaim their youth and their destiny. But then they find strange things are afoot in their town as they return and see that people have been replaced by robot-like beings. Where did you guys see this? How'd you guys come about seeing The World's End? What was your hype surrounding it? And how'd you see it?
Well, I really like Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel. So I'm sorry, that's too easy. Like I was gonna go deeper into that, but I'm an idiot.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah, I know that's so stupid. I should have quit after the text message.
That's fine.
Anyway, I saw it in theaters. It was part of the plan as far as my Thursday night movie nights go. It was just next up on the list. I was very excited for it. Not so much excited as part of the Cornetto Trilogy, just excited because I've grown an appreciation for Simon Pegg. I think, honestly, I fell in love with Simon Pegg in Star Trek, really. And so I was just kind of excited to see that. And it just seemed like a cool story, cool event movie, kind of a way to put the summer behind me. You know what I mean? It was like the last of the summer movies, so
right.
We saw it I guess the week after it came out in theaters.
Yeah.
Nice. Tiny, how about you?
I have been looking forward to this movie for 6 years, give or take.
Nice.
Because like I said, Shaun of the Dead, it's just one of my favorite movies, and I loved Hot Fuzz as well. So I have been waiting for this for a long time. I was super excited for them to conclude the trilogy and, wrap up all the jokes and all that stuff. And I just love these actors and this filmmaker so much that it was very hyped for me. I had pretty high expectations for it just because it felt like the end of an era for me. And so it was a bit emotional and stuff like that. So I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and I was glad to go see it in the theater. I saw it by myself, and there was no one else in the theater. It was actually late on like a Tuesday night at like 10:30. Was when I saw it. So, but that's how I felt about it going in.
That's similar to my story. I procrastinated seeing it in the theater until just this past weekend.
Yeah,
and it was the kind of thing where I was very excited for it. I just didn't get around to seeing it, so I had to go all the way up north to see it on the north side of Indy. And I also was there by myself, which that alone, that kind of experience is just great. I love being in a theater all to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was tweeting during it. It was fantastic. But
yeah, we know.
That's when we sent you our unanswered text messages, Matt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking forward to it, and I wasn't disappointed. What did you guys think of it?
Yeah, I certainly wasn't disappointed. It wasn't as mind-blowingly, hilariously awesome as I wanted it to be. But I think it was a very nice send-off for the trilogy. For this, it feels like the characters in the films are all relatively different, but it feels like they were the same characters throughout all three, kind of. Just because that's how it feels for me. It feels like I think this trilogy is more about friends making movies together as opposed to a zombie movie, an action movie, and a fun little comedy or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of how I felt about it. So I don't know. I thought it was, but I thought it was a fitting send off. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I would argue that Nick Frost was a dramatically different character in this movie, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It is.
But then you could also make the argument that they were just switched.
True.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
That's fair.
Mike, what'd you think of The World's End?
You guys can tease me if you want. I really, really, really loved it when I saw it. That when it was over, I was like, man, this might have been the best of the trilogy.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Now, looking back and just talking about it and remembering how much I love Shaun of the Dead, I retract that statement. But it is certainly better than Hot Fuzz, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll probably talk about this when we get into it. But I I thought that it was really, really good and then really great right up until the climax.
Yes, we'll talk about that definitely.
Okay.
I share some of the same sentiments that you do. Actually, I thought the movie was just. I thought that of the three movies, the theme of each movie is like I said, Shaun of the Dead, Slacker getting his life together, Hot Fuzz, uptight guy loosening up. I thought that the story of Gary King being this guy who's stuck trying to preserve his teenage years, his golden years, despite his friends all moving on. I thought that as a story worked better than the other two.
Yes.
And I connected to that.
And I think that's what what I reacted to initially.
Absolutely, and that's I was the same way. I immediately connected to it, and I thought the characters were played out very well. I thought that the movie itself, I had watched Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead before. I went to see it like the day before, and I thought like you could see the evolution of Edgar Wright's directing talent.
Yeah,
this was a much more dramatically filmed movie, I would say. It didn't have as many like quick cuts and flashy slam cuts and all that stuff. It was just a more, I hesitate to say straightforward, but it was a more professionally filmed movie. Not to discredit the filmmaking of the other two movies, because I thought that he was spot on with it, but I just think his evolution as a filmmaker is evident in The World's End.
Was the budget bigger?
I assume it was. I don't actually know.
I assume so.
I assume it was, and I think the press for this movie was bigger too.
Yeah, definitely was.
It was. I agree completely with you, Matt. I think it just felt more professional as a project.
You guys both made the point that you kind of connected with this story of this guy was kind of stuck in his adolescence, if you will, and dwelling on this one night for half of his life. That was interesting. I liked that a lot, and I did connect with that to a sense. But I think the more of the theme was kind of about growing up and moving into this dull malaise of adulthood that these other five guys were a part of, and that's something that I can't quite connect with yet. I think because none of us are, of the three of us, we're all the same age. We're not quite at that point in our lives yet, so we haven't necessarily had that experience yet. And so that was, I'm not saying it was a disconnect, but it wasn't, I did not connect to it as much as Shaun from Shaun of the Dead or Constable Danny Butterman from Hot Fuzz. So in that sense, it was less of a movie than the other two, in my opinion. But I still enjoy it. I still liked it quite a bit.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I can see your point. It's kind of this funny balance between because we're not very rounded yet, and we're so young that it's easier to connect to the characters in the first two movies. But The World's End, I think the characters are rounder. They're more complete characters.
Yeah. And I want to say just briefly, I have to just reference, or I have to make special mention to Nick Frost. I thought he was great as kind of the straight man character for most of the movie. So I thought that was just it was really fresh. It was a refreshing thing to see those characters switched.
Yep. He was very silly in the first two films.
Yeah,
and he was so much more straight laced in this one.
Yeah,
and even more. Well, and just the same, Simon Pegg's turn I thought was really good.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I thought that was one of the best. I would go so far as to say one of the best roles I've ever seen him in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. He was great.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you see a lot of movies with a certain person, and you kind of feel like the characters are kind of just them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And Scotty not necessarily so, because he's got the accent and all that. But in a lot of the other Simon Pegg movies, you feel like it's just Simon Pegg. This guy was a character. Gary King is a character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the ending here in a second, but I just wanted to mention that one of our Twitter followers at Andy Zach, Zach Zach, he mentioned that apparently the theme of the movie is kind of can either be interpreted as or is definitely a statement on Hollywood, which I thought was interesting. I didn't really pick up on that. Did you guys pick up on that?
No, not at all.
I didn't know.
Oh, well, he linked me to an article on filmschoolrejects.com. I'll throw it in the show notes, but basically saying that Simon Pegg's character the movie referencing the starbucking of the pubs, and how how they're trying to be all the same and all that. It's kind of a metaphor for Hollywood and how they're churning out, and also the aliens. Spoiler alert: the aliens taking over the bodies of the citizens, and just turning them into these idealized kind of not idealized, but turning them into these robots, for lack of a better word, that just spout off repetitive things from the past, and only being stuck in the past is kind of indicative of Hollywood and how they can't move forward from their past movies, and they keep remaking the same things instead of going for originality.
That's
deep.
A big stretch. I think.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I would like to see. I'd like to see more.
Yeah, the article is a little more in depth with it, but I just thought that it's an interesting interpretation, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say that's more of a commentary on corporatism as opposed consumerism, corporatism, more a broader theme as opposed to Hollywood. But maybe they make some better points in the article. So
sure. Yeah. Like I said, I'll link to it.
Okay. I thought that was funny, that little joke where the first two pubs they're exactly the same. That made me laugh.
I laughed too. Yeah. I thought they were all going to be the same.
Yeah, that would have gotten a little dull.
It would have gotten dull, and I'm glad they didn't do it. But I was like, this is funny gag.
Yeah.
But it's also the name of the second pub is the Old Familiar.
Yeah. It's true. That's funny.
What I mean? And if you notice, all of the names of the pubs as the movie goes are in reference to what's happening in the scene.
Yeah. So clever.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool.
I didn't pick up on that, honestly.
Yeah. Look it up as you go. My favorite is the hole in the wall where they drive a car into the thing to make a really big hole in the wall.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Look it up. The one before that is the King's Head. I don't remember exactly what happens there, but it's Gary King.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that the one where he beheads the guy?
Yes.
There's quite a bit of beheading in the movie.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch this movie again now.
The Trusty Servant, I think, is the one where they meet their friend who is not one of them.
Yeah.
But is one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Check it out next time you watch it.
Yeah, I'll definitely be on the lookout for that, because that's when I left the theater, I was thinking like it was good. I liked it a lot, but I felt like some of that was missing from the other two, that kind of setup and intricacies. But it's just because I didn't pick up on it. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really liked the differences between all these characters. Obviously the standout or the odd one out was Simon Pegg, but the other characters were all very straight laced and professional, but they had different aspects about them. The one guy was still kind of he had a disappointing love life, and he was still kind of dwelling on. I don't remember the characters' names, unfortunately.
Yeah, me neither.
He was still kind of dwelling on this crush that he had on the other guy's sister, and that kind of plays through in the movie. And Martin Freeman was just kind of had totally moved on. He was just this super professional guy who didn't even. He did not want to be there. You could tell, definitely. Nick Frost just kind of dwelled on his. He let his past define him, kind of. And then one of my favorite characters was actually, I think his name is Eddie Marsden or Marsden or something like that. He played the real shy, introverted character. He was pretty funny. I just liked the way that he seemed to not really fit in that group, but at the same time, it seems like every group of friends that you know kind of has one of those characters. Like has a guy like that who kind of he's the real shy one and kind of introverted and sort of weird. So I really liked how all the characters were so different, and they were just they were kind of staples of characters. They were classics. I thought that was a good idea, and it was all played really well.
Agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
Let's see. Let's talk about the ending real quick.
The scene right before the ending, where Gary is kind of, wearing his heart on his sleeve and kind of spilling out all his thoughts, I thought was brilliant.
Oh,
That is the scene that made me say, man, this might be the best of the trilogy. Because honestly, it might be one of my favorite scenes of the entire trilogy. But then when they go down into the underground or whatever, it's too goofy.
It's where it kind of lost me a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny because it's this quintessential slacker who essentially, by being kind of dumb, he outsmarts a higher intelligence and forces them to leave. I thought just that scenario was really funny to me, and I thought it was kind of funny. But I do agree it was kind of strange.
Yeah.
I
mean, I laughed. I thought it was funny.
Me too. I felt like they could have ended it a little better, a little cleaner. It could have been because it was such a different way for the movie to turn, I guess, because you had that big moment with Gary, and then you get down to that, and it's kind of just this weird thing. I don't know how to put it into words, but I just wasn't really that fond of it.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Sorry.
Did you guys like the epilogue part, sort of, where it's the post-apocalyptic thing, and they're kind of...
That was the second part that lost me a little bit. I
wasn't crazy about that either.
Yeah, not Nick Frost telling the story and seeing the Cornetto wrapper, which this movie was mint. But it was the very, very last scene with, again, spoiler alert, where you see Gary walk into the bar with the alien things, and he has a sword, and it was lost on me. I don't know what they were saying with that, honestly.
Yeah, it's almost like to say the only problem Gary had was the alcoholism, which he got over, but there's so much more wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
and none of that is solved by the end of it. He's still going on adventures like he's the king.
Right.
That's true, but that personality serves him well in the apocalypse,
Yeah. But why would he team up with the network or the aliens and stuff?
That's what he always wanted, because all his other friends were gone. And those were his friends,
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow. I did not pick up on that.
Right, so many of them had died, and, the ones that were still alive kind of, they parted ways, and so that's what he always wanted, he wanted his friends back, and those robots were, they were the robot versions of the younger selves. So, that's why.
Wow. Okay. I can get more on board with that, but then that brings up another issue, that his journey as a character kind of.
Yeah. That was my issue.
Yeah.
Was the journey as a character kind of takes a step back.
A little bit.
It's true. I'll give you that.
Yeah. But it's not to say that it didn't ruin the movie for me.
No.
That much.
No.
Because everything leading up to that was great.
Yeah. It got knocked down a peg, if you will.
Yeah.
But it didn't ruin it.
No.
So we kind of touched on it earlier, but do you guys think where do you think it fits in the trilogy, the worlds, and do you think it's the best or the worst, or what do you guys think? Mike?
I would say a strong number 2. again, I don't mean to slight Hot Fuzz, but I think this movie, in terms of quality, like we said kind of early on, might be the best. I think it's the most well-done movie. But because of the end, and I guess because of the connection I have with Shaun of the Dead and just the horror movie aspect of it, I give Shaun of the Dead the slight edge. But I think this is a really close second, and definitely better than Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
I would say the same thing, although I would give a little bit more credit to Hot Fuzz. But other than that, spot on. I think thematically, or in terms of the story being told and the characters, their arcs, for the most part, is probably the strongest of the trilogy. Up until that ending, but as a movie as a whole, I think it fits well, like right underneath Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
How about you, Tony?
I think it's a strong number 3 to kind of steal some Mike's thunder. I don't know. I loved those first two so much. I think it's I guess I kind of said earlier how I didn't connect with it quite as well. I still think it's great. I thought it was so funny. I loved the sentiment of it, and I think it was a solid send off for the trilogy. But I still prefer the first two. I think Hot Fuzz is kind of underrated in that sense. I love the action movie references and whatnot, so I would actually rank them in the order they were released. I'd say Shaun of the Dead's my favorite, and Hot Fuzz is second, and this is third.
Okay, cool. I think that about does it with our discussion of the Cornetto Trilogy.
I think so.
Or the Blood and Ice Cream Trilogy for us Yanks.
Yes.
Or 3 relatively unrelated movies that are directed by the same guy and star some of the same actors.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Some of the same jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Well, let's do some potpourri then.
Sounds good.
All right. This is the section of the podcast where we talk about whatever we want as long as it smells good. Let's get things kicked off with Mike. How about you?
I was hoping you'd pick me first.
Nice.
Just recently I saw the movie Prisoners.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal and featuring Paul Dano. Yes. I loved it. It was cool. It was really good. It was really, really good. Nice. Even better than I expected. I won't spoil anything, but the end, the crowd with which I saw the movie reacted in a way that surprised me to the ending, because I don't think it is as surprising as their gasps might have warranted. But anyway, the performances are great. I really love the tone of the movie that starts in November, and I guess it starts on Thanksgiving and goes about a week, and you really get that feel just in the opening shots when they're kind of driving through a neighborhood. It's rainy and kind of dark and gray and gloomy. And I really love the feel of the movie, and it kind of keeps that consistency throughout the movie. Paul Dano, I don't think... I think Paul Dano's great in this character in particular. He doesn't really get to shine, which is unfortunate because he doesn't really have much to do because he has like the brain of a 10-year-old. So he doesn't really have much to do. However, Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman pick up the slack. So highly recommend on that movie.
Awesome,
cool.
That's kind of disappointing about Paul Dano because I think he's a phenomenal actor.
Agreed.
It is, and it's nothing he does wrong, and it's nothing even the writers do wrong. It's just it's surprising that they got someone who is known for being so good recently to do such a minimal part. And there's more to it, I guess, than I'm giving credit. I guess I'm just talking about as far as speaking lines are concerned. I think they could have gotten someone that would warrant a smaller paycheck for that role.
Huh. That's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, the trailer looked really good.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Cool.
Tiny, how about you? What have you been up to lately?
Today I went and saw Ron Howard's film Rush, and
nice.
I loved it so much. I do this a lot, but I will admit my bias towards it because I was born and raised in Speedway, Indiana, which is I live about less than half a mile from the most famous racetrack in the world. So you could easily say that racing is in my blood. So the film was close to me for that reason. So I loved it for that reason, pretty obviously. But there was a lot about it that surprised me. The first thing was that it's rated R. I had no idea. I thought it was PG-13. And it's appropriately a rated R film, in my opinion, because it's, we're talking about professional athletes who literally risk their life every time they do their job, and they're just, they're filled to the brim with testosterone and adrenaline, so it makes sense that they would curse and be kind of, flagrant people. So it kind of makes sense, and it worked in the movie. And then secondly, this is kind of a personal aspect, but Chris Hemsworth, I didn't really pick up on it in the trailer, but as soon as I saw him and listened to him, physically, he just reminds me so much of Dan Weldon, who was probably one of the most loved race car drivers in the world, you could say. Just a fan favorite, a loved guy, and he tragically died in an accident last year, way before his time. He was a young man, and I just remember the day that Dan Weldon died. It was huge for me. I was at work and I was driving a truck. I had to pull over, and I kind of broke into tears. That's how important this guy was. And Chris Hemsworth just sounded and looked so much like him that it hit me really hard when I was watching the movie in the theater. So that's just kind of a personal aspect of it. But to get to the movie, it's surprisingly enough, it's actually not really a racing movie. It is a movie about a rivalry between two professionals. They're different. They seem like they're different, but they have a lot of similarities. And I thought that Chris Hemsworth would, have most of the spotlight because he's the bigger name and he's a really good-looking guy and all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, Daniel Bruhl, the German actor who plays the other rival driver, he was a scene stealer. He stole a lot of the movie's thunder. He was really, really, really good in this. Like, I honestly think he deserves an Oscar nomination for it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So it was Olivia Wilde was unfortunately underused. I'm a big fan of hers. That was a bit unfortunate, but it was a really great movie. I think even people who are not fans of sports or racing will enjoy it. I loved it so much.
Nice. It's interesting about Rush because when Ron Howard was basically he tweeted very prevalently during the filming and the making of the movie, and I thought that it was I loved him for that because it was such an awesome kind of sneak peek at the behind the scenes aspect of making this movie, and I like that got me. That was an interesting form of self-promotion on his part because it's him sharing his craft and sharing his passion in a very public way, and it kind of got me excited for the movie. And when I saw the trailer for it, I was very, very excited to see it, but I haven't seen it yet. But it's definitely on my radar, and it's good to know that it's good.
Yeah, it has such a great feel to it. It's such an atmospheric movie. And the time period was just perfect. It takes place in the 70s, and at that time, auto racing was hugely popular because at the time it was the most dangerous sport you could do. Extreme sports have kind of taken over that, but it was a point where drivers in any kind of racing, multiple drivers would die every year. That's how dangerous it was back then.
Wow.
It's changed so much now, but it was just an interesting time, and it represents that very well in the film. So I highly recommend it. I loved it so much.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Awesome.
As for me, I got something interesting in the mail today. I'm planning on hopefully doing a blog post at some point. This won't turn out like the Elysium District 9 double feature that I said I was writing, but I never got around to.
Oh, but, yeah.
But I got a package from Nielsen, who I referenced in a past podcast that Nielsen Ratings has contacted me about. Like they had me do a survey, and then they called and asked me to do a journal for their ratings stuff. So I got it today, and it's going to be fun to write about because I have such a strong negative opinion for the Nielsen ratings. Like as an example, when they called me, I answered the phone, and it was just this woman that's just like, we got your survey, and we want to do this, and we want to do that, and we want you to do this journal and everything. And it was very fast talking, very like anytime I said, okay, yeah, she had to stop her. she had to stop, and it's like, okay. It was a very weird phone call because she was following a script like lightning fast, and I'm trying to have a conversation, and it's throwing her off. So that was weird. And then I got the package today, and it was like she was like, how many TVs do you have in your house? How many whatever. So I say, and then like they give you $10 per TV and per journal you fill out. So like if I had known that, and because they're based on the honor system, by the way, which is just crazy because they have the technology to track these things to the point, but they're still using this outdated system. So I could have said, yeah, I have like 7 TVs and gotten $70. $70.
You should have.
I should have. If I had enough, if I would have thought about that, I would have. But but no, I just got like $30 from them. So I thought about going and buying House of Cards on Blu-ray with it, just as a screw you to Nielsen ratings.
That's
awesome.
funny.
But I ended up spending it on Game of Thrones Season 2. So be on the lookout for my Nielsen journey depicted on the blog at obsessiveviewer.com pretty soon. Or maybe it's up there by the time this
could be
goes live. Could be, but then again, I'm kind of lazy. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to it.
So any parting thoughts, guys?
I don't think so. Just found out today that Halloween and Halloween 4 and Halloween 5 are coming to Showplace Cinema here in Evansville in October.
Nice.
Super psyched about that. They're awful sequels. But it'll be cool to see them in theaters.
Nice.
Fun.
That's
we'll
awesome.
see them in theaters, so that'll be cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as we usually do, let's wrap it up. This has been the Obsessive Viewer podcast. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm Matt at Obsessive Viewer. Tiny is at Obsessive Tiny, and Mike is at I Am Mike White. As always, you can find us on Facebook at the Obsessive Viewer, and you can email us any feedback, anything you want at ovpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to go to back episodes of the podcast, go to ovpodcast.com. That way you can bypass the actual blog and ignore all of my words and check out all the back episodes. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends.
Thanks for listening, guys.